I believe in you, baby. Welcome back, everybody, to the Small Business Safari, where the good stuff always happens off mic. And it happened again as I was telling Paul about my first coaching experience in baseball with T-ballers, where I had to get a kid off third base because he was about to take a leak all over it. But here we are.
Here we are.
And here we are talking with Paul Redman today, everybody. So let's get started.
How could you coach little kids like that and with your language?
You know what? I was pretty good. I did not get censored much. I did get one letter from the commissioner of the league saying that they could hear me all the way across the other side.
The parents will regulate.
Yeah, parents are good that way. I told Paul the worst parents I ever had were T-ball parents because they thought every one of their kids was Derek Jeter, when all you're trying to do is make sure he's not picking dandelions in the field or building a snowman
or peeing on first base
or peeing at third base.
Yeah.
Because I was at first base and I'm like, no.
Can you imagine rounding home, a big play, you're rounding home and then you slip on somebody else's pee? You can't have that.
We had him out of there quick. So we averted the disaster. So here we are when we're talking about everything with Paul Redman. Paul, thanks so much for joining us. I can't wait to start diving into your story.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Paul's got a great startup that he's just started, but he's got a wealth of experience that we got into. Before we get started, though, we're drinking Taco Tuesday from Monday Night Brewing.
Cheers.
Out of the Solo Cup of all things, I figured you might go straight can. Isn't the Solo Cup used to conceal the identity, or is that a cultural thing here in the South?
It's a cultural thing in the South. It does conceal identities, but what's funny is that every time you have a red Solo Cup and you're trying to have a beer before a high school football game on a place that you're not supposed to be drinking, you have a red Solo Cup. Why do they always come up to you and ask you, hey, what's in the cup, sir?
I just thought it was because you can pour more in your mouth in one gulp.
Oh, well, you can. That's
to me, it's more of a logistics move.
Yeah. And that's where logistics move. Speaking of logistics, we're going to get back to Paul.
Maximum delivery.
That's right.
All right, Paul. So before we get into what you're doing today, how the hell where'd you come from? What'd you do?
Oh my gosh. I'm glad you're asking, because I think your co-host here would like to know that as well. He just shows up and he's like, who's this guy on the phone?
Hey, Paul, don't tell my trade secrets.
So
show up late for a podcast.
Well, that's what happens.
I guess so.
Now we go.
We share roots. I'm originally from Michigan and was raised in Detroit. And people always say like, oh, what suburb? No, I was in Detroit. Like the house I grew up in, I think was on Zillow for like 10 grand a couple of months ago. True story. So right off of Woodbine.
Yep.
Telegraph.
I know Telegraph.
That's all I got. Yeah, you say those. Everybody does.
Yeah. I got Telegraph. In fact, my mother was in Dearborn. That's where she was born.
Yeah.
And Telegraph ran through there too. Yep.
Yeah. My family is in Dearborn Heights.
Okay.
Small world. All right. Racket. That's where I'm from.
Michigan,
that's my story.
But where'd you go to school for college?
So I went to Wittenberg University. Not very well known.
No?
Exactly. We're the winningest Division III basketball program in the country that no one's ever heard of. So Division III school. So
is that in Ohio?
It is. Yeah.
There's a lot of great small college basketball in Ohio. It's unbelievable there, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, you've got, all the OAC schools and NCAC schools, which no one's ever heard of, but yeah, really competitive, good basketball. So
he decided to go south to play basketball, because that's what I thought the South was when I was growing up in Michigan. I just thought the South was Ohio.
Down south.
That's way down there, man.
Yeah. They call you a city slicker when you move down from Michigan.
Yeah. So you go to Wittenberg. Did you go to play basketball?
I did. Yeah. And people always ask why I didn't go to Ohio State or North Carolina or Duke. And it's really simple. they never invited me or asked me to. Otherwise I would have. I would have committed to play for Coach K. But I was 6, 7 in 7th grade and wasn't terrible at basketball, but my numbers got worse from 7th grade on through college. So mediocre player, but true center. They don't have true centers anymore, but got me into school and, met my wife and a lifelong friend.
So what was your first job out of college?
Oh my gosh. Do you already know the answer to this?
I do, but I want you to tell everybody.
No, you don't know the answer.
Oh boy, I don't.
You don't, because you're probably looking on my resume, right?
I was.
Yeah. So yeah, there's always a job that, and we all have it, the job that you don't want to show everybody. Well, I get out of school, I'm getting, fresh out of college. And I thought that just by nature of having a college degree, people would want to hire me. So I'm on at the time, this is, monster.com and all these other places and trying to find a job and phone's not ringing. And I see an ad in a newspaper. This is a really random story. You're going to regret you asked this. I see an ad in the newspaper that says sports marketing. And I'm like, I'm a sports guy.
That's me.
That's me. And so it gave me an address and, said to show up at 9:00 on a Monday. It was like an open invitation. And so I get outside of this building. It's in Kettering, Ohio. And I'm kind of down on my luck. I mean, I just graduated and just wasn't really feeling great about myself and was kind of surprised that the world wasn't just waiting to hand me a salary and a company car and all those sort of things. And this building is like it's like an apartment building, but also kind of like a medical building. And I couldn't really tell, commercial, residential, whatever. It was like an apartment building. And I go inside and it smells like cat urine. And I walk down to whatever door this is and I knock on this door and it's a studio apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment with one door. And there's a guy.
Paul, how desperate were you at this point?
Very clearly very desperate.
Oh my God.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing the same suit that I bought to wear in graduation. And the guy is sitting on a bed. I mean, this sounds like a nightmare. And it was in a way, but it could have been worse. So there's this guy named Ron sitting on this bed, and there's a folding table next to him with a stack of index cards. And basically what he did was he would go to the schools, like University of Dayton around Ohio, or he'd go to Ohio State, and he would take the top 2 or 3 rows of the basketball tickets or football tickets or women's soccer tickets or whatever. He would kind of take them on consignment, and then he would cold call businesses to sell them for $5 a piece.
And that's sports marketing. And it's just like you imagined, right?
Is it not?
I was just about to say, so he goes, you don't know. And I was about to say, you were a telemarketer.
And he is. I was a telemarketer. And so they do an interview. That was going to
be my guess.
They do an interview and they hire me. I come in and I'm down on my luck. I mean, at this point I had this is, a couple months after graduation, just kind of, screwing around, trying to get a job. And he offered me, it was like $10. It was like $7 an hour or $10 an hour plus commission. So I had to sell these tickets in order to make money. It was like whatever was higher of the two. So I get there and I show up at the apartment. They now have two folding tables. They just hired another single mom who lived in the apartment. So she would come downstairs and we're sitting at these tables. Now, I had just gotten a car. I was just trying to get on my feet. I had a car payment coming up. The world, you get out of school and the world starts coming in pretty quickly. And they had a telephone, like just a dial telephone, no computer or anything, and a stack of note cards. And I just remember having a script and picking up the phone. And it's important that I'm holding my hand like this. I don't know if anyone can see this, but I'm holding my hand.
It's really good for a radio.
That's how. That is how you.
I got it. This is how you use your phone.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Okay, good.
Oh yeah.
So, I start dialing. And I go use I had to borrow a key from Ron to go use a restroom in the hallway because he wouldn't let us use the restroom in his little apartment because he slept there. He stayed there. And they almost fired me because I did such a poor job like for the first hour. So I finally got it together. But I would do that for like 3 months. And I would call so many people that my fingers, these 3 fingers here, were completely numb because of the way my elbow and the way my hand, I would hold the phone up and I would just call and call and call. And I got really good at it. And I was making, more than the $10 an hour or whatever. Maybe it was a couple $100 a week. And then one day my cell phone rings and it was a recruiter at a company. And I remember seeing the phone. I'm like, oh, thank God. And they called me and they offered me a job working for C.H. Robinson, which is a publicly held transportation logistics brokerage. And, they offered me a job, $29,000 a year, gave me a cubicle, some business cards. Life was good.
And you said, bye-bye, Ron. I'm going trucking.
I told Ron, yep. I said, trucking ain't for sissies. So I go to my first day. Now, this is how life works. This is why I need to put that on my resume because here's the thing. I show up at this job and it's an entry-level job, but I'm just happy that I had a job that like had a website and had a company name and was publicly held and had health insurance and all this stuff. Like I didn't care.
And it wasn't in Ron's apartment.
It wasn't in Ron's apartment. And
staring at Ron's bed.
Exactly. Oh, dude, it was so creepy. And
that's creepy.
I was so just happy to be part of the working world that I was going to just do a really good job. So anyways, as part of this job, you had to reach out to companies that shipped things and people who drove trucks, right? You're a broker. You're just the middleman. Well, can you imagine how well I performed on day one, having the fact that I was already missing feeling out of 3 fingers because I had already, and that's an important, like, that's a period, like that's unscalable. Like when I hire people or I'm hiring someone mid-career, and if they didn't have that, I'll try to keep my language clean here, but if they didn't have to if they didn't eat dirt and like kind of hate themselves for what they had to do for a period of time just to get by, you can't teach that. So anyways, I need to put that on my LinkedIn profile. That was my first job.
I think so. I think you got to put sports telemarketer in Ron's bedroom. What?
Just telemarketer in Ron's bedroom. Yep.
Oh man. Yeah. That would actually get what they do. You say keep it language clean. Yeah. So I'm like,
no,
sure,
it's funny you say that, Paul, because those 3 months were probably the most formative months of your entire career. If it weren't for those 3 months, you may have just hit the corporate world and bounced around and didn't know what you're doing, but you must have been shot out of a cannon. And it makes me think there have been times in my life where I've been coaching people who have positions to fill that are very difficult. And I say, don't necessarily look for the skills that you're looking for. Just look for somebody whose last job sucked worse. And they're going to feel like they've been let out of prison.
There we go. So that's your gold nugget. Hey,
yeah.
Find somebody
whose job sucked worse than the one you're offering, and you've got an employee for life.
Jeez, you know what? I'm going to put that on my ZipRecruiter profile. Hey, my job's going to suck less than what you were doing. Come on over here. I'm doing that.
You know what?
That might actually get some. It's not Ron's bedroom.
You're on to something.
I actually have my pants on. Come work for me as opposed to Ron.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you're on to something. I in a recent post on LinkedIn, I'm letting some folks in my network know that we're hiring, and I'm looking for people that want to leave corporate America because they've had a taste of it. Like they know what it's like to have to work sometimes, oftentimes thanklessly. They know what it's like to work around a little bureaucracy. They know what it's like to be part of a cog. They know what it's like to have to be organized and to be highly accountable. So when they come to the software world, like the startup world, there's trade-offs certainly from a resource perspective, but there's a lot of things you don't have that are like so appreciated. So I have a new employee who's crushing it right now. Her name's Lisa, and she comes from the corporate world, and her dexterity on the job is unbelievable because she's had to do so much. So yeah, there's something to it. Strong gold nugget.
All right, so here we go. There you go. Strong gold nugget. My job
came out I got here late, but
you brought something early.
Yeah, that's right.
Really.
All right, so you leave Ron's bedroom and you go trucking, and then you decided you needed to chill out. Like how I did that. You don't even know yet, do you? No, you don't.
I do.
All right.
I do.
So, all right. How did you end up to the next place? And what is it?
Yeah, I'm in Dayton, Ohio. Things are going really, really well. I'm starting to make a little money. I'm working really, really hard. And my wife and I, just like anyone from the Midwest, you start kind of looking westward. And we wanted to move to Colorado. We can imagine that. We had never been out to Colorado. We didn't know anyone from there. So we started networking, and long story short, in the pursuit of looking for something out there, met someone who worked for a big manufacturer, Lennox Industries, that gave me an opportunity to work there. So I worked there for just over 10 years and did a lot of different things, but learned a ton. And yeah.
So you picked your location, then picked your job.
I think that's a big thing for Midwestern kids. There's like the call of the West.
It is.
What is it? Yeah. Maybe it's not the winters because Colorado's got winters.
Yeah, but they got fun winters though.
Different winters. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your experience with winter in Colorado basically depends on which direction your driveway is facing. If you have a south-facing driveway, you really don't have winter.
Really?
If you have a north-facing driveway, you've got snow for 4 or 5 months. But no, you're so much closer to the sun, and it just dries it up, and it's a whole different ball game out there.
So did you live in Denver? Is that
south? Yeah, Castle Rock, down in the suburbs.
All right. So I love how you did that. So I had a chance to go work at Gates Rubber Company out in Denver, Colorado, and went out there.
Was this another one of your decisions that you kind of made poorly?
Yeah, of course. So here's what happened. I went out there. What do? Come out early, go skiing. I did. Loved it. Guy went skiing with me. Went there. Hey, here's your position. Here's what's going on. Here's how much we're going to offer you, and we want you to start. And I said, well, let me go back and look. And at the time, I was dating this chick, and I made a choice based on that. Oh, that's right. I'm still married to her.
Oh, well, it works out then.
So anyway, back to our guest, Paul. Paul, so you get into Lennox. What was your first job with them? What did you start doing?
You know, I started in field sales. So I was a territory manager. So I was working with contractors and didn't know the industry, didn't even know how to program a thermostat, still barely do. But again, it was one of those things where I was young and hungry and starting a family, and I knew how to work hard. And so I think just, you know, kind of showing up with a good attitude every day, my customers really liked me. So they started buying stuff from me, and I performed really, really well. And ended up getting a promotion, moving down to the corporate office, living in Texas. And
all right, so you had to move. You moved away from. So you said, you know what? I'm going to pick my location, and then I pick my job, and then your job says,
flipped it. Yep.
Welcome to the Lotus Flower. Step into my silent web. Hey, listen, I have drinks, I have food, I have gambling. Go to Texas. Well, there's no skiing in Texas. It's not Colorado.
There's no skiing, and I will tell you, there's a lot of odd moves you can make, but when you move from Colorado to Texas, it's tough. My kids didn't even have a word for what they were experiencing with the heat coming off all of the concrete around. And it was interesting. I turned down a ton of jobs to come down there, but it's really interesting because they kind of, how do I say this? They offered me a job to be part of kind of shaping the future of digital and e-commerce for contractors and for manufacturing and for homeowners buy air conditioning, which is still what I'm doing today. So I go down there, I do that gig, and my world has just opened up to a ton of different things and IT and just technology in general. And then I had one more move in from there. So they shipped me out to North Carolina, where I am today. So I got to North Carolina and was like, at this point, we'd had a kid at every stop, you know, Denver, Texas, that we'd just been, you know, a little kid factory.
So did you do what I did? I had somebody bring this up to me years ago. So my daughter's name, and of course with my last name, Lalamia, you would think I would have a nice Italian girl's name, Sydney. My son's name comes through. We call him Austin. So did you name your kids after cities too? Or
no?
So you weren't that dumb.
My wife is from Sydney. Were those cities special to you, or just?
No, not at all. That was not even part of our thought process whatsoever. It just somebody said that to me, and I went,
Interesting.
I guess we did. Not very. So again, not back to me. So you did not name your kids
Hoboken.
I have so many kids. I had to think about if any of their names are cities, and no, I don't think they are. So
I actually, for those who are listening on the podcast, I did see Paul doing this one. All right. And then he was going to the second hand. I'm like, holy, how many freaking kids does this guy have? How many cities did you go to?
4 kids for the record, and all live in my home.
Oh boy.
Well, one's in school, but yeah, all under one house. They came with me as I moved around.
Let's all pause for a minute for Paul.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
God bless you, Paul.
So good. Oh boy. Woo, that better be a big house. So anyway,
yeah.
All right. So you guys moved to Charlotte. So they moved you there. This is the with Lennox doing the e-commerce stuff. So obviously you kind of found your niche. You kind of, was that a passion play for you? Was that you actually, I mean, we made fun about making the move, but it obviously sounds like it was really something you were passionate about. You're like, man, I could really get into this deal.
Yeah. Actually, they were. I'd been out here about 2 years, and they were talking to me about coming back. And my wife and I were just like, you know what, we've done this. It's time to just settle in. And then the thought of just settling into, you know, the role I was in out here, which is a great role. People retire in the job that I had here. I was one of the youngest people in the company to do it. I was driving around the Carolinas, going to see customers, listening to a ton of podcasts, and started listening to the Tim Ferriss show. If you're familiar with Tim Ferriss, so love Tim Ferriss. And I would hear these entrepreneurs tell all these stories. And I just kind of got obsessed with this idea of, you know, creating something and doing something that was in our space. And, you know, if I zoom out a little bit, ever since my first day in this industry, you know, the HVAC industry, I've been just obsessed with this idea that there's a better way to do it, that there's a more convenient way to do it, that there's a huge gap between, you know, manufacturers and distributors and how they create value and how contractors create value and what consumers actually want. And so yeah, I took the leap and worked a little bit with marketing, and the whole time I have stayed super close to Lennox. So I'm now one of their customers. I'm one of their marketing vendors. I go to their annual meetings. I probably do more with Lennox now than I did when I worked there, on a corporate level. So still very much in my bones.
All right, so let's talk about that one, because that's a big part of our audience and people who listen. You're working, you got the 4 kids, you're in North Carolina. They're saying, Lennox, the big mothership, saying, please come back. And you're like, oh, I got to stay. No, I'm listening to Ferris in my headphones. And he's saying, look, you can do a 4-hour work week and start a business, and you can't go wrong. And if you do everything I do, you're going to make it. You're going to be successful as hell. You're going to have so much money, you don't even know what to do with yourself. And all you have to do is work 4 hours a week. And you went, yeah, that's me. What?
I got to tell you, the 4-hour work week title almost completely like discredited Tim Ferriss for me before I actually got to know him. And I get the idea of automating things and creating processes and outsourcing things, but I don't think anyone who's really truly passionate and really like making waves is doing it in 4 hours. I work more now than I ever have, but it's different. It's a different type of work, and it's a lot harder without the guardrails of, someone telling you what to do every day, and the corporate structure that kind of just is a
so take us
kind
through
of laid out already.
So take us through that. Go ahead.
Well, it's really interesting to me because we interview a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, and most of them grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and they've just always had that itch. And then they go to corporate, and then they learn that they hate corporate, and how do I get out of here? And either they just quit and then figure something out, or they, like Chris, actually tried to strategically plan an exit. Sounds to me like that wasn't you. You're actually pretty happy in where you are, to the point where you're still really attached to that, corporate structure, but you just saw an opportunity that you couldn't do within those corporate environments.
Yeah, that's part of it, and saw tons of opportunity in the industry. Like, have you ever, in the corporate world, when you're looking around at all the resources you have, there's always like a position that you're like, oh, if we had one of these and someone had one of these, then we could have this, right? There's always something like you need to be able to do your job better. And I had a couple of those opportunities, and that was my first move was, hey, customers need, better resources for marketing, and the corporation needs a marketing agency they can trust. So I helped build a ecosystem around that and bridge that gap. And that was kind of the first move. And then the other piece of it is like, you find other people who are committed to really, really doing a good job and really care and really want to build value and that. And then those relationships, when you keep those going, they just, one conversation leads to another, leads to another, leads to, hey, let's try this, to, hey, let's scale this thing. So kind of rambling, but
was marketing what you studied in college?
No, I was
so the marketing, the knowledge that you have, you got at Lennox.
What was it?
No, I studied communication, which is like isn't that the basketball?
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you really wanted to be the North Carolina Tar Heels announcer. That was your role.
I wanted to be a guest on a home services entrepreneurship podcast.
You know what? Finally, Paul,
I'm using my degree.
Your wish. Just by merely us having this podcast, Alan, we have.
That is the best response we've heard in a year.
Right. That is not.
I've been waiting for
shamelessly marketing. That's not shamelessly sucking up to the guests, because I think we just did make a wish. So
I think so.
We just said.
Paul,
I will say,
little Paul got his wish.
Little Paul got his wish.
Little Paul got his wish.
Only 6'7", but anyway. By the way, Alan's 6'6", so yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm
nice.
You're a point guard.
My mother always. So I'm a first generation college student, and whatever in my family, and my mother always had a hard time explaining to people that you can go to school for one thing and not necessarily go into that vocation, and she just could never connect the dots. Like, well, he went to college, but we're not sure what he's doing. And now that I have my own podcast, I can truly say I'm using my degree, which helps her explain to our, relatives that I actually have a job.
Really? So that's the way she plays her job?
All full circle. Yeah. He's using his degree.
Paul does the podcast, he does the podcast. And so that's how he makes his money. He does the podcast.
I don't think Paul's mom is Italian.
He does it. Oh, that's right. That's my mom. But on the internet. With what, Ma? With the the podcast
in the apartment with the guy and the cat.
The guy. Ron,
single mom.
Ron.
Good memory.
It all comes back to
Did Ron make his bed before you started every day?
Flawlessly. Oh man, it was so humbling. Like, oh, gosh, I
way.
forgot all about that. Thank you for reminding me of that.
This is perfect. You got to
You
put
can
that
still,
on LinkedIn, bro.
I can still feel it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's
You
what
can still
motivates me.
smell the urine through the doorway that you walked.
When you absolutely like, I
Yeah.
can still feel it
You
to
okay,
this
Chris?
day.
Gagging over here. Hang on.
So
Coming back in a minute.
gross.
Cat urine is a killer. Anyway,
Paul's an opportunist. He
is.
sees a door and he walks through it.
Dude,
He does.
Barely,
he
I
is.
duck.
Yeah,
But you
yes,
walk through, I mean, fearlessly. You're like Indiana Jones.
He has done it. Look at he's done. He's gone through Ron's bedroom. He's gone through cat urine. He went to Colorado, not knowing a soul. Then next thing you know, he's in Texas, figuring out now he knows why they really don't have hell Texas, because even Satan knows it's too hot to go there.
I'll tell you, you want to talk about marketing. You know, Texas has done an incredible job marketing itself. It is overrated. There are redeeming qualities in
You're
Texas.
You're going to get death threats, Paul.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's.
What's your address?
Paul
Group
Redman.
think.
Paul Redman, 123 Main Street, Davidson,
I lived
North
in
Carolina.
Plano. Plano's different though. Plano is it's Plano.
All right, let's get back to this whole.
I just want to go on record saying I freaking love Texas.
Okay, Alan Wyatt.
Yeah,
complete kiss ass.
There are some, but that's like saying, I mean, Texas is so big. That's like from Boston to, Detroit. So what part of Texas, right? Austin. I was just there. Good.
I just love what Texas is.
That's marketing.
Yeah.
That's marketing. That's what we want to do to our brands.
Back to marketing. Did you guys, this is a total segue, but I love this one. Do you know what Don't Mess with Texas really came from?
Mm-mm.
It came from, they had so much littering going on there in the roads. The whole statewide program was don't mess with Texas. That means clean up your litter.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's turned into this whole big, don't mess with Texas. I got guns.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you.
That's
if you don't
brilliant.
believe what I'm doing. Yeah, right. So that's don't mess with Texas.
So we've taken the blue pill on Texas, or at least I have.
You have.
Yeah, okay.
So you're going there.
Yeah.
So when Armageddon happens, or
that's right,
or the liberal U.S., you're heading to Texas. You,
I'm going to get my
Rogan,
compound.
White.
That's
they're
right.
all moving there. I mean, Austin, it was known for being this huge liberal city, and I keep hearing all these conservative people moving there. You're like, I thought they were liberal there. No, guess not.
It is interesting. I was just in Austin last week, and the juxtaposition of the state house and just the, conservative values of the state, and then the city of Austin, which is a whole different ballgame on its heel. It's just
keep Austin weird.
Austin's weird, but cool city.
Yeah, I want to get there.
They worked hard to keep it clean.
See, there you go. Don't mess with Texas. Now you guys know.
The best company. My favorite company of all companies in the history of companies is in Austin. It's a company by the name of ABC Home and Commercial. Bobby Jenkins, the Austinite of the year, is, if you're a small business owner or a home service company listening to this, look up ABC Home and Commercial in Austin, Texas, and look up Bobby Jenkins. This guy he's doing it right. He's the mayor of Austin, and he's a pest control company. Is amazing.
You've got a big grin on your face. Is it just his marketing campaign, or what?
No, it's the individual. He is an incredible individual. He just does it right. Dude. Shout out to Bobby.
All right, love it. Let's see if we can't get him on our podcast. We got an in now with Paul. That's right.
Yeah.
So back to being in with Paul. So I want to go back to this one. You said to your wife, "You're right. Let's not move to North Carolina." And she went, "Oh, thank God. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start my own business." Did she go, "Oh, Paul, what a great idea"?
She's a saint. I can already tell.
Yeah.
I mean, he's dragged her all over the place.
And he met her in college.
I know.
Crazy. All right.
Yeah. All she has really cared about along this whole path is, one, not moving back to Texas, and two, having great health insurance. And I can assure you this, we've not moved back to Texas.
Attaboy. So 1 for 2. You know,
1 for 2.
For many of us, because we all do keep score at home. That's a true thing. There's a scoreboard up there. I'll take 50. I'll take it right now. I mean, going right now, I'm like 1 for 1,025. I mean, I don't know. So
exactly.
I'm a little down.
That's pretty good.
I always had a little bit of a safety net because I was always kind of, partnering up with someone. I didn't quite start from scratch. So I would bring the customers and all of that and kind of work that in. But yeah, it's worked pretty well, but it's been good. I think the thing that surprised her though is, in the corporate world, she would see me working a lot or stressed or, really wrapped up in work. And it was easy to point that as kind of an external thing, right? Like I've got pressure on me. What we were both surprised about is that's how I'm wired, even without someone over my shoulder telling me what to do or setting expectations.
That's a gold nugget that you got to realize. You hit that. You actually alluded to it earlier, but you think I'm going to go start my own business because I don't need no boss.
Yeah.
You know what? You just gained 5 million bosses if you want to get into, and especially in consumer, business to consumer business that we got into. You've got to be wired differently. You can't have somebody continually tell you, "Hey, you got to give me that TPS report. Hey, you got to get that TP. Hey, did you give me a status report yet? Hey, what did you do?" No, you've just got to be wired to roll like that. And did you find that the pressure kind of changed? And you found it a little bit more, I wouldn't say uplifting is probably the word, but different pressure look.
It's a different pressure. You do find that in the corporate world, at least for me, like a lot of the effort sometimes was spinning wheels. It was, like you said, TPS reports. There was some sort of reporting or some sort of like mechanism that wasn't really moving the business forward, but was required for whatever was there. Whereas now what I love is like, we only, in this world, we just play with live ammunition. Like everything is real. There is no, we're not, I once spent, when I worked in the corporate office of Lennox, I bet you 6 months working on a PowerPoint with someone.
Oh my God.
I kid you not. Like we would have 2, 3, 4 hour meetings every day.
The meetings for the meetings.
How about the pre-meeting for the meeting to get ready for the meeting? And then when you have the meeting, you have to do a debrief on how the meeting went.
Totally. Yep.
And I was the guy who actually dictated. We had to have a pre-meeting, meeting, and debrief. I'm the one who said that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, look what you've just become.
Look what you've done.
You just make yourself sick. You know what? You should go gag on your own cat urine that way, big boy. What the fuck? Come on, man. All right. So your first business, you did a partnership deal. Taco
Tuesday. I found someone who I believed in, and actually, pitched this whole idea to him. He had 6 or maybe 9 employees doing a little marketing gig, and I pitched a concept to him to make him the official marketing partner for Lennox and grow that business. And then as weird as this sounds, brought him home to my wife to explain to her what I was doing and introduced to make sure she felt comfortable with him. And made the leap. And gosh, that business has, I don't know, 150 employees now, and it's doing really, really well.
What's the name of that company?
Rhino, RYNO.
And that's how I knew him. That's how I first met him. Rhino doing a great job. You'd still plug him. Sounds like you're still high on him. Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah.
Thumbs
absolutely.
Up.
But the move was, this whole time, my whole career, I've had this thought. And so again, I'm back in the HVAC industry. Everyone shops online. Everyone wants to buy everything online. Nobody wants anybody in their house. Everybody wants to have transparency. Well, the HVAC industry has had all of those like conveniences locked down forever. If you want to find out how much an air conditioner is in Alpharetta, Georgia, you've got to invite 3 different contractors into your home in khakis who are going to sit down at your kitchen table, tell you their company story, ask you the questions, and then reveal this price. And then you're going to look at the price and say, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And then, of course, you don't have an idea because there's nothing online. There's nothing, transparent. So when you do go online, now you're going into a world of, direct sellers and, click funnels and, Amazon and Lowe's and Home Depot and all that. So I've had this, hypothesis for years that consumers are going to want to go further down the buying process for home services, not just HVAC, but decks and windows and all those sort of things without leaving their home and without inviting someone in. And so we found a way to, kind of bring that technology to contractors. And so that's what we're really dedicating everything we have right now to get contractors to, bring e-commerce into the business. So if you look at my shirt here, you can see e-commerce is the future for contractors.
I love that.
That's catchy.
It's
catchy.
I don't know if I'm going to put that on my, I don't know if I'll put that on my bumper sticker. E-commerce is the future for contractors.
Good thing you're 6'7".
So,
that's a lot of letters on a shirt.
That's 6'8". Yeah. 6'7" in 7th grade, but I've grown an inch.
Oh, he grew. Oh, I'm sorry. I shorted him out.
Yeah. So if you were wearing that shirt, it would just say e-commerce is the future.
Actually, I don't even know if it can.
Maybe e-commerce is.
Who knew that 6'2" was so short? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Anyway, all right. So you said, hey, Rhino, successful business. Not Stan. I'm going to try this one more time. And you got this e-commerce. So let's talk about that play because you touched on it a little bit, and I really want to spend some time talking about how you brought a different mentality to what you're right. You go in there. I pitch my good, better, best product. I
Yep.
show them pictures. I tell them how great my company is. I tell them I give them a 1-year warranty. I tell them, especially in HVAC, you can lease it, you can rent it. Bullshit. And you keep going that way and doing all this stuff. But now you're talking about bringing e-commerce. So talk about what you're doing with that.
Well, I should start with, we are already an e-commerce business. We were HVAC.com. We sold that a couple of years ago and started testing e-commerce with Contractor Commerce back in 2018. So we got several hundred contractors using it, but basically we've taken our direct-to-consumer filter business and we're letting contractors, use our technology to put our inventory on their website and sell it directly to their customers. So everybody listening to this has got a filter in their house, and they're more often than not buying them off of Amazon or buying them from a local retailer. We're trying to help contractors reclaim that business and do so at a healthy gross margin without lifting a finger. So that's a part of it. The big play is, taking a relatively static home service business website, website that's just full of information, but no real mechanism to do anything, and turn it into an e-commerce website. Allow a customer to, imagine this, put a credit card in and buy something. So that's a big piece of it. And
So
then
go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
No, you weren't done.
I was just going to say that the big play, and this is what the larger private equity companies are looking at, and hundreds of contractors, is how can they let the customer go to the website, enter some information, get multiple quotes on a fully installed system, become a lead, or transact and actually buy, lease, rent, or at least get further down the process of buying a system right on their website. Controversial in home services.
Go, Alan.
Well, I was just kind of thinking about your business and just making sure I understood it. So I've got a local HVAC service company and we love this guy.
Yep.
And so he has to tell me, hey, when it comes time to replacing the filters, don't bother going to big box XYZ. You can just order it on my site. Is that just as simple as it is?
Simple as that. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you wanted to, pay him for his services, you could do that on the site. If you wanted to sign up for, I'm sure he's got some sort of membership plan or some sort of maintenance club type of thing.
It's the easiest thing we've ever. I mean, he's the best service provider I've ever had. I think he has a key to our house. We just don't. I mean, we love this guy.
That's the absolute best.
Sorry, Chris, you're feeling some pain there. Aren't
Number
you?
2,
you don't have a key to my house.
I don't have a key to your house. I thought I was your preferred handyman. Obviously, I need to work on my service.
Handy person.
And we've had handy persons here. Thank you, Paul. So going back,
I honestly didn't know you did HVAC.
I don't do HVAC.
I know you do.
You keep going to your buddy, then fine.
Whatever.
Fine.
I'm not talking to you anymore today.
I am not looking at you any longer on this podcast. I can't believe.
Paul, do you like me better or Chris?
You know what? This is a tough one. You're pretty funny. But
I know
you're a close second.
I know.
All right, let's get back to me, shall we? I mean, Paul. So, Paul, what you're talking about doing is taking an HVAC contractor. He's here. He's in Atlanta. He's doing a great job, or wherever. You're saying, hey, look, you can put these tools on your website, these widgets, these whatevers.
Yep.
Work with me. Now you can start selling filters. You can sell your membership services. You can actually even let people go online and see how much your systems are going to cost, and maybe even go that way. Is that how big it can be?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. And so, in your market, it's interesting. This is kind of a sidebar, but you've got a company Reliable in your area.
Oh, yeah.
People just call Reliable for their $89 air conditioner. And the only reason they would call them for an $89 air conditioner is because they've created that. They've created a way someone can go get an $89 air conditioner. So that's a leasing model, which is a completely different subject for a podcast. But
yeah, don't get me going down that one, because that one, whoa. But
it's so interesting because here we go. No one uses the word lease, but it's a lease. And I work with some leasing companies, and I work with big companies who do leasing, in Canada. It's just interesting. I'm curious to see how that takes off. Apparently it's working really well in the Atlanta market.
It is. I do know they're doing really well with it, at least from what I've heard because I know a number of their competitors. We do a lot of work, drywall work, or get referrals back and forth. And I know some of the other business owners that do that stuff. So I've heard that's good. But we got to think about this just for a minute, because what you're doing is you're saying, in the stodgy world of contracting, You have a website. We're all told we have to have a website.
Yes.
Well, hey, even better. You have to have a Google My Business page. Oh, my
yes.
God, I have that too. Do you have a social media presence? I do. Okay, so you're there. No, now you're talking about being able to do Amazon level shit with your website, with what you're doing. And I think that I mean, that's definitely mind expanding, not only for me, but I think for a lot of people listening.
Yeah, thank you. And think about it. You mentioned, Amazon, like that's the goal. It's to create that same level of customer experience directly on a contractor's website without exception. And of course, on the physical goods side, that's really easy for us because we just ship same day, deliver within 1 to 2 days. It looks and feels a lot like Amazon. We do a lot of business with Amazon. But the other part of it is, if you think about what you just said, like, every contractor was told they needed to have a website, and pretty much they've all caught up. And then it was Google My Business, and then it was social media. And now it's, you're told you need TikTok or whatever. And eventually everyone will have that. I don't recommend it. But
oh my God.
Oh no.
Please, tell us more, Paul, about how much
next
TikTok
time I come
is
to
a
everybody,
complete
we're TikToking
mind-sucking waste of time.
In fact, I even TikTok my President's Cup trip.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever read their terms and conditions?
Oh yeah,
I'm sure
you are selling your soul to China.
I'll do it.
Projecting, but I heard that.
I mean, again, I started my business. I would do anything to anybody at any time. 14 years later, probably still will. But no, yeah, I'm with you on that on TikTok.
So, Paul, let me ask you a question, a real business question. So you're behind the scenes for all these contractors.
Yes.
And so for the first time in their life, for somebody who knew that they had to put a website and all this stuff together, they actually can get a return on all this that they can measure. Are you handling the customer service aspect of it? I mean, does everything go through you and it's just listed on their website?
We're handling, when it comes to shipping actual products, we handle the fulfillment of that on behalf of the customer, but we are blind. Like they're, not blind. I'm sorry. We are, behind the scenes. So we're, accepting the order. We're sending the confirmation number on behalf of the
you're
customer.
the white label fulfillment center for these guys.
It
still looks like it's Chris Lalamia's Trusted Toolbox filter being delivered. That came from your white label filter.
But if there's an issue with the shipment, does the customer call you directly, or do they think they're calling the contractor?
Generally, they will call the contractor, and the contractor should have been trained by my team on how to kind of handle first line defense on customer service stuff. And it's interesting in our business, it's relatively linear, right? I ordered the wrong one. Where's my shipment? It didn't show up. It showed up damaged, which is pretty rare with our volume. But yeah, they're providing the first level, but my success team's right behind the lines there to help. So it's not uncommon that, yesterday, for instance, we noticed that a customer put in a PO box instead of putting in their address, and someone on my team just reached out to the customer on behalf of, Drake Heating in Dayton, Ohio, just said, hey, we just need the rest of your address. So we do what we can, but it's the whole play here is it's the contractor's store and it's their data, it's their customer. We're just the technology company. But back to the marketing piece we were mentioning earlier, if you think about this, just think about Google. And imagine you have two companies, right? And they both sell Ray-Bans, sunglasses. I always say Ray-Bans. I don't know why. And one is just a website that talks about how they sell Ray-Bans and what kind of Ray-Bans they sell. And it has some pictures of Ray-Bans from a distance and a picture of the people that deliver the Ray-Bans. And then the other one actually says all of that plus the ability to buy the Ray-Bans.
I like that because you can fulfill it and be done with it. So how long have you guys started this business? What's the name of it? Let's push it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, thank you. So contractorcommerce.com. We named it Contractor Commerce because we will serve all contractors at one point. Right now, we're focused primarily on HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. We do have a locksmith client that's really cool. So if you are somewhere in the US and you lock your keys on the side of the car and you go to Google and you punch in your you land on a website and you're punching in the name of your car and your year and your make and model, and you order locksmith service without talking to someone, that's being powered by us as well. So that's a cool one. That's Papa Lock is the name of that franchise.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one. Yeah.
Yep. Great company.
So how long have you guys been doing this?
So 2018, we started testing it with real live customers. And about a year ago, we decided to roll this out nationally. So we're on a very, very aggressive expansion tour of the U.S. and got sales team and success team that's out there on the streets. They'll probably be calling you guys at some point. Hopefully.
Call me. Got to do
like
it.
A no-brainer for a contractor.
Well,
that's Paul, it. That's what customers say. We say that, we hear it all the time. Sounds like a no-brainer. Thank you for saying
that. Sounds like
a
no-brainer for a contractor.
See, he likes me better than you.
Yeah. Am I a contractor? Because I have no brain. All right, Paul, this has been awesome. We're going to have to start wrapping up, not because we want to.
Yeah, you got another one.
But no, you got to get to your baseball game so we can make sure
you.
kids are not taking a leak on third base. Paul, how can everybody get a hold of you and your company and what's going on?
Yeah, so first step is go to contractorcommerce.com, click learn more, request a demo, any call to action there. We'll see it. Or on LinkedIn, Paul Redman. On Facebook, Paul Redman. Not on TikTok, unfortunately.
Well, fortunately for you,
Paul.
don't worry. I'm putting myself out there.
You're a good red-blooded American, Paul.
You know what? And I'm selling my soul to China. China. Okay, Paul, I got to let you go, but I don't want to let you go because I got to ask you 3 questions because I want to hear.
Go for it.
All right. Number 1, what is the favorite feature of your house?
Oh, my favorite feature of my house. My air conditioners, for sure. I have variable speed 26-SEER Lennox XC25 air conditioners. They're sitting right outside the window and you can't hear them.
Honestly, and I have if you live in the South, we probably should call it like it is. Because if you ever live without air conditioning in the South in the summer,
yeah, that's true. And he also lived in Texas. That's true. Seems like a self-serving answer, Paul.
It's just not. No, I'm looking at them right now. They're almost silent. They sound like a refrigerator. They're variable capacity, so they work in from 40% to 100% capacity. I barely have an electrical bill. Hospital grade filtration, 2-stage gas furnaces. Oh, all right, that's variable speed blower.
Talking about like a 57 Lennox. Chevy.
Hey, it'd be awesome if Lennox could sponsor this podcast.
It's the best.
That was good. I'm
telling you,
that was a great plug.
If you came to my house right now, you'd be standing on the back deck, looking at those bad boys with pure envy. Anna and Elsa, they're gorgeous. I'm looking at them right now. Like
he's actually named his air conditioners. Oh my God!
Did he really?
Did you just name your air conditioner? Did you say
Anna and Elsa from Frozen?
Oh, right.
Oh God, you must have.
Yeah, you see it. Yeah.
Damn it, I got it now. All right,
they're gorgeous. 2. Google them, but not around anyone.
Right.
They're that sexy.
Wow, I am starting to feel a little dirty.
Yeah.
Paul says, "Get in here, Anna and Elsa. You are my air conditioner queens." I'm actually starting to. Never mind. I got to
sweat a little bit. Yeah.
Whew. I know. I think our air conditioner needs to be worked on here.
Towel off a little bit there.
All right, number 2, customer service pet peeve. We love customer service because we're customer service
freaks.
Good job, Alan. Way to go on cue, buddy. That was awesome. Great timing. Jesus. All right, let's go.
When I can't get a ballpark price.
Yeah.
When they want to send someone out to my house, when I can't complete a transaction, when I can't put my credit card in and just do the thing, when I have to talk to somebody, that's a pet peeve.
Cool. I like that one.
Another self-serving one.
Yep. All right. That was a good one. All right. Number 3. Give us a DIY nightmare story, and then we are out of here.
Oh my gosh, I have a horrible story for you. So it's my first house. I'm in Texas, and in Texas, your homes are built on slabs, which is something they don't tell you. I could go 2 ways with this. They build them on slabs, and all the plumbing, of course, is in the slab. And Best Buy or whoever I bought my refrigerator came and they hooked it up. They hooked up the refrigerator and they said, "Hey, we actually don't hook up the water line. You'll need to do that." Well, I'm not very handy. My wife is handy. So I look behind there and I look and I see the copper pipe and I'm like, okay, well, it looks like it's got this little fitting right there. I'm just going to twist this thing, and I'm twisting and I just can't really get it, but I think I have it. And I think the fitting's underneath the wall. You can see where this is going.
Oh yeah. I'm loving it.
The smartest decision I ever made in my life was I decided to go turn the water off at that time. So I turned the water off and I go and I keep spinning it. And all of a sudden it's spinning really easy. Then it's spinning really easy. I had taken the copper pipe and completely pinched it off in the slab.
In the slab.
And we had like really nice tile floor. So this is a Sunday. Shut the power off to our house. It's August. And next thing you know, I've got Aramendia Plumbing, which I think was bought out by Service Experts, one of my customers, jackhammering in our brand new, the house we had just bought, like custom tiles. It was a kitchen that had been finished with the previous owner, who is a handyman, very handy. And I handily jacked up the entire floor. So that was step 1. And then here's another thing I don't tell you about Texas, because it's so dry. The foundation business, foundation repair, is a massive business down there because the ground shifts. That's what it does in hell.
Right.
Because it's so
Right.
hot.
See, there you go.
And-
Another thing you're not ready for. If you want to go to hell, the ground's going to shift, bro. Let's go.
So I'm going to tell you the best customer service experience I ever had. So I'm getting ready to sell the house, and the inspector comes out, and the company is selling the house. But I had to go through this checklist. So the company's selling it, and whatever. But they brought a foundation inspector out, and he's like, "Look, your foundation has shifted. You need piers underneath the foundation."
Right.
And so I'm calling around, and I'm also in Charlotte house hunting. I'm house hunting, and I'm like, "How much are foundation piers? How many do I need? What's going on?" And I called this company. It was after hours, 6:00, and she answered, and I told her what was going on, and she just said this. She goes, "Oh, honey, that sounds terrible." And I was like, you get me. You understand me. She was able to go out. I never saw someone. They went out to the house. They priced it. It was like $11,000. And they did the job. Who knows if they actually put foundation piers? They might have just dug a hole and dumped some red clay there. But I lived there for 18 months. And apparently a house can shift in 18 months.
Yeah.
So anyways, but that was my best customer service. But the key was, she used empathy to identify with what I was going through, and she didn't treat me like a customer. She was like, "Oh man, I can't believe you're going through this. Your foundation, you poor thing." And here she is, like, this is what she does. She fixes foundations.
You get me. I like
gets me.
That's right.
She's on her yacht right now.
Oh, totally.
She totally got you, because that's right. Because for $11,000, she poured a little red clay in there. No, she didn't. They did the right thing. Paul, you've been amazing. This is amazing.
Likewise.
Super fun.
Love this stuff. A lot of fun. Small business safari. Go out there. Success team. We got to make it up that mountaintop of success. We got to keep driving, keep going, and go out there. Rate, review, follow us. Alan's kind of questioning if we're getting reviews and we're getting rates. So you got to go out there and prove them wrong. Get out there. Give us a rate. Give us a review. Let's find out what's going on. Until next time.
Cheers.
We're out of here.
Thanks, gentlemen.